play clips,
Okay.
and then we're going to talk about why they work.
Are you guys the Pathfinders?
Maybe you should lower your voice. The phrase Pathfinder right now in this place might not be the best thing to shout.
Pathfinder's not?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Pathfinder's bad to say right now is what you're saying.
You're right. Pathfinder's the wrong thing to say out loud in an audible tone. You should not be saying Pathfinder.
Griff, did you say Pathfinders?
Yes, we are Pathfinders, yes.
And Pathfinders is bad.
Yep.
I'm in a hell of my own making.
I mean, I'm sure you guys deal with this. Probably you have some ideas planned out what you want to do, right? But you got to be able to drop whatever you had in your head when a moment presents itself like that, right? And you just got to let that go and run with whatever comes up. It's your the best reaction is what comes to your mind right away, and just go with it. I mean, and then when you're with people that work so well, you can rely on them. They could pick up the pieces. If you do something wrong or you kind of lay some stuff out there, they can pick it up right there with you.
This
You guys do it so well.
Adam, you joined us on a Star Wars campaign too, so I wanted to play.
You hit a vehicle coming out of Lightspeed. You hit the corner of it.
Hermes, I thought you said you were going to do pilot stuff.
I was trying to do pilot stuff. It's hard to... Look, you fly out our light speed and see what you get.
This is the KR Jelly. To damage ship. Do you require assistance?
Hello? Yeah, I'm totally fine here, but boy, I've got a lot of treasure and nowhere to put it. How are you guys? Any room on your ship?
Did we hit something? I thought we had a good pilot. Hermes, what's going on?
Listen, I'll tell you the same thing. You try to jump out of light speed, okay? And avoid something. My friends are jerks.
Yeah.
By the way, just so you know, right?
There's an undercurrent that we haven't talked about yet that's a really good technique for improving your engagement as a player and overall like table engagement. And that's, if you notice, the players aren't saying he does that. They're saying I do that. Or they're just talking as themselves. A lot of players in D&D, they sometimes go, well, she does this as their character. But an acting technique that helps out with improv because it really gets you to trust your gut. It's based off of the method and Stanislavski and all of that is for that time that you're performing, which is what you are doing. This is an art form. You are that person. So it helps with keeping you thinking and engaged if you're just like, I am that person. Like, yes, it does lead you to sometimes put too much of yourself in them, but you can eventually get beyond that. But it does help to just, rather than saying like, Ukthar stabs it with a knife because I don't know why. You know, if you're like, that guy hit me last round and I'm going to hit him back, you're waiting with anticipation. And there's so much more urgency that I've noticed at tables where everyone is embodying their character rather than keeping that mental barrier of being like, this is who the character is and I'm over here. And also it cuts down on like out of character chatter. All chatter becomes in character chatter, which is so much more fun because you're cracking the same jokes, but now you're doing it as your characters. And so your characters have more personality.
What are the secrets, Luke? If there was one thing, and I know there's so many that you have, if there was one thing that you had, what type of recommendation would you have for somebody?
Probably the most important thing to remember is it's a team sport. If you're at the table, it's about the enjoyment of the group. So keep that in mind. Come with a good attitude. Seek ways to help your players get their moment in the sun, to get their moment in the sunshine. Think about what would make it cool for them. Other than that, it depends on the table, right? How do you guys have fun? Are you a super serious group where everybody needs to know all their spells and all their abilities just down to the gnat's butt so that instantaneously they can jump on it? Or is it better to know how to crack a joke and make everybody laugh and break some tension? It's going to depend on your group. You are part of a team there to have a good time. Never forget that. And, heaven forbid, don't be that person at the table where the other people groan and go, oh man, we have to deal with this guy.
We've had them at tables before. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Taking notes. Tory is the best note taker I've ever had the pleasure of having at the table because Tory takes notes in character. And that is one of the really cool best things that I've had as a DM because she's currently playing our bard. I have her do the recaps. And that's another way to engage players. Players that take notes in character, it might feel silly, guys. I take notes in character when I'm a player. But I find it's the best way you can take notes because then you know what your character was feeling at the moment. You know how they feel about everyone else in the party. You know how they feel about the BBEG. And sometimes it's not the best for when you're given a recap.
Yeah.
But it is still one of the most fulfilling experiences as a player. I don't know if you have any.
No, I totally agree. And especially if you are a new player or finding trouble, like role playing at all, if you have that to go back on and you're stuck with something or you're not feeling confident in your role playing abilities, like for any given reason, to go back and be able to read that and kind of put yourself in the headspace of your character before you play, especially if you're someone who does recaps, it's a really good way to get back into it and feel a little bit more confident participating in the role play. So highly, highly, highly recommend.
I mean, I have a lot of experience on a daily basis with people who are coming into my store for the first time and say, I don't know how to play D&D. So I'm going to, I guess, speak for a second to people of that level. Make room for other people. You're telling the story of this group of heroes and how they save the day, not how you save the day along with some lackeys. Because we've had those people, and it's not fun to have someone who just hogs everything and doesn't make room for you. And the session zero is one of the most important things you can do.
What is a session zero?
Yeah, what's session zero? It is the social contract they were speaking of before about knowing who you're playing with when you go in. Because if you absolutely just want to roll dice, crunch numbers, and be a murder hobo, great. Like, everyone has fun doing that if that's what they signed up for. But if it's an RP-heavy group, you're not going to have fun with them, and they're going to hate you. And that's just how it is. Set people up to shine. They're going to have so much more fun with you, and you're going to enjoy knowing that you helped make that happen. The group killed the dragon, not just you and your one hit. Because I absolutely have rolled things where I could have taken someone out. It was way more fun to set it up so somebody else could take it out.
Wait, you cheated? Cheating rules?
No, I just didn't use all my full abilities on that one particular turn.
Yeah, quiet you.
Yeah. Instead, I chose to do something else well that let somebody else land the blow.
Yeah, shut up, Spencer.
To Donna's point too, like part of the through line with a lot of this is be engaged though, right? You know, Luke set it up there as well. The one thing that you don't want to do, look, especially with newer GMs, sometimes combat can take a little while because they're learning on the fly sometimes too, or with a new system, right? The most experienced GM in the world, take a bite out of Pathfinder 2e and see how that combat can go. It's crunchy and interesting, but you will not get it on the first try and will not be smooth in the first try because there is a learning curve. Everybody's in that learning curve together. So the one thing that's really tough for other players, right? Because we're putting this in terms of other players, but certainly for your GM as well, you know, when you're on the phone, right? You know, that's being distracted, right? And it's tough. Look, you know, especially when you get into like longer combat type of sessions, it can be a while before the dice get around to you again. But just, you know your character, know what you can do, kind of have your move played out. If it's going to take 10, 15 minutes before you get to speak up again, because you're in some sort of combat initiative order, you should pretty much know what's going to happen at that point, right? So, but it's disheartening to other players, you know, or your GM when the moment they need to ask you a question, like if Donna's going to tee up something for somebody. Like,
is
what?
it my turn? Oh, crap, what happened?
Yeah.
Right. So
just build dice towers like the rest of us.
Right. Right. Find something, you know, like something, you know, in like something still like related. Or study your sheet. It's a great time to get to know your character. God knows as you go up in levels in some of the more crunch heavy games, I guarantee you do not know your sheet as well as you think you do. And you may have something situational that you've never used before, but now Donna has set you up for something that's awesome. And you're like, oh, cool. This is the first time I can use this. And I know I can use it because I've been paying attention.
So I feel like to be a good D&D player, or to create stuff like that, you just need to know your character and know the limitations of it. If you have cantrips like shape water or move earth, of course you can do whatever you do. Like, it always makes the DM happy when you flavor your own stuff because it shows like that you are, one, knowing your character, which is very important, and two, showing like, hey, I'm a little bit involved. Look at me. I'm going to fire this fireball. But instead, it's going to be a flaming baseball. I'm going to just chuck it at them, which is enough flavor just to be like, oh, cool. I get a sense of what this character is now because he did that.
My secret is to surround myself with people who really know what they're doing and let them create the world. I mean, it's, I approach it. I mean, like the first, everybody knows the first improv rule is yes, and right.
In terms of the TTRPG scene, like I've loved Dungeons and Dragons. I've loved Pathfinder. I love all of these cool worlds and these amazing pieces of art, and as well as all the incredible stories that a lot of people tell. But I was brand spanking new when I came onto the scene with these guys. And I can't stress enough how anxious I was. I was in a 10-day long panic attack leading up to the whole game. I was just like,
oh my gosh, I have no idea.
Yeah, man, I didn't sleep for a week. But the thing,
let's play a clip.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is his character. It's sort of, when I saw Beau on TikTok, he reminded me of The Witcher. I don't know if you guys see the similarity. Where he's recording, I was like, oh man, this guy's The Witcher. We got to get him on the shows.
He's gonna write down on his little scroll again because we don't need any more of those up where we are. Horrible, ferocious beasties with giant scorpion tails. Oh, glory. Well, are these individuals that are on the receiving end of this creature, are they important to any of you?
Would we be able to retrieve their bodies?
Yes, and his bag of holding, which you could put the gold in, I guess, in the beginning.
He's like, I was so nervous. I was like, I didn't see it at all.
Oh, I felt it. But the amazing thing I found just coming into this scene was just how great everybody is and how welcoming they are. And they say, like, one of the best things that I learned as a brand new noob is you can't screw up. No matter what you roll, no matter what you say about your character, you can't screw up. You move forward. I rolled, a lot of ones in this game.
He fumbled
at very important moments.
Loud noises.
That, not to spoil anything, but I think I nearly died twice, and it wasn't, had it not been for Brooke down there, saving my sorry ass.
Brooke with her broken character.
Yes. The whole game would have stopped right there because of a noob who didn't know what he was doing.
So that is a rule of improv, just throwing it out there, even though you think it might not be the right thing, but just always throwing the action out there.
Do it.
It'll be corrected if not. So don't be worried to take that risk as a player, right? Throw it up there.
Yeah.
Here, I've got one for Brooke. This is one of my favorite scenes. This is all stuff from RPG All Stars. I have other things to play, but since we're picking on Pamela, so might as well. So Brooke hit an insanity trap and lost her mind, and so she checked out for an entire 2 shows into an asylum. And this is when they were coming to rescue her in the asylum, but they found out things were a little more twisted than they thought. But I love what she created with her character, because I didn't have any prior discussions as you in this asylum. So
Mora,
I have fixed her.
Mora, how are you feeling?
Speak to your friend, Mora.
Good. Good.
This is your friend, yes?
Good.
Yeah. Your friend was deeply afflicted by disturbances.
No, it wasn't disturbances. It was a magical trap. So
I've done amazing cure again. I have, but she should remain here for quite some time under my leadership.
I like it here.
Yeah, she's very kind to the staff.
Well, she's a kind person.
She's given all of her sock puppets up to us. All of them. So quite good.
Wait, even Mr. Spitfire?
I don't know who that is, but...
That's the dragon.
Oh, yes. Well, Mora, have you given all your sock puppets to us?
For good.
Yes.
My emotional support himbo, if you will.
We want to put this in terms of how to, obviously given the session and how to be a better player, right? A lot of us are approaching this from like the DMing side or GMing side, because we have a background in that. Another aspect is this applies to really any sort of tabletop role-playing game where there's a role-playing aspect, right? And for one, you have to have an agreed upon social contract, right? What's the idea of the game, right? What's everybody's level of comfort? Some people are obviously more comfortable, role playing in and adopting their characters than others, right? So this has a more performance-based aspect. So there's a lot of trust there because when you find somebody with that sort of background and level of talent, you get excited, right, to gel with them, right? But I think that really you can absolutely have that same experience at the table with your friends. It's a fantasy world, right? We're there to have fun. The gaming aspect of it, yeah, that's sometimes outlined in the mechanics of the rules, but you're also adopting a character, right? And you don't have to act it out as blatantly as we are here again because there's a performance aspect of it. You can say this is what my character does, right? But go for the gold.
Know your character before you're going into combat. Figure out what you're going to do. Start planning your actions on the person right before you turn. As the DM, remind people of the initiative order.
The way I like to play, I've found, is I like to play as a support character, essentially. I am the one who's going to try to facilitate the story of the main characters, which permits me the ability to, kind of slide out of the spotlight a little bit and let everybody else have a bit more time in it. You throw me something, I'm going to find a way to throw it back to you so we can keep things moving forward and I can be the best version of a character that I can be.
Something that I do as a player is choose to know. It's an improv technique. We've all done that game where it's like, you're all in a tavern and this one guy comes up and someone goes, I don't trust him. And then you spend 20 minutes where the DM is like, this is supposed to take like 15 seconds. And it's like, I'm going to follow him back to his room and break into his... And it's like, what you're doing is you're choosing to not know. Rather choose to know, and that's what makes Beau such a successful support character.
The backstory is our greatest tool as a DM. If you have a player who wrote a backstory and they were passionate about it, I've gotten 9 pages of backstory before. I've gotten a paragraph of backstory before. But no matter what, you have to consider that player took the time out of their day to pour whatever of their heart or their thoughts into this backstory, and they want you to read it. And they hope at some point that you will incorporate it.
Right, Jonathan? Yes, very much so. Yes, we want that. That's what we want.
But just having that touched upon, if they're not necessarily the greatest role player to begin with, having that kind of tie into what they wrote as that character and what that character's gone through, that kind of helps edge them a little bit more into the role-playing space because that's what they have a connection to specifically, themselves. And I know, like we've been saying, it's such a team sport, but everyone needs moments. Everyone needs to feel like they've been seen at some point in the entire campaign.
I have a piece of advice that actually Neil Gaiman gave me. Right? Pretend you're good at it. People who are shy, like the new players, and they just don't know how to get in and how to start. And oh my gosh, there's so many rules. Just pretend you're good at it and do the dumb.
The advice for that player, if you're that player, don't sweat it. Don't sweat it. Don't let that be a barrier to entry because you're either going to get help from the other players at the table, right? If it's just you and a bunch of Star Wars nerds and people who can recite all the lines from all the movies, cool, just rely on them. Or just don't be afraid to ask. Say, would my character know this?
I would say for brand new players, there is absolutely no shame in taking reference from your favorite characters. If you want to play The Witcher, if you want to play Geralt of Rivia, Godspeed, more power to you. Figure out as a DM how to help that player build that character. Because the thing is, the more you play that character, the more it's going to become your own. It's not going to be a copy of a character. It is going to slowly become their own character, but they feel comfortable because they feel like they have something to emulate.
As far as character voices, a lot of it depends on just how the character feels. Not necessarily what they look like. Because you could have, this little Twilight character who sounds like,
I'm here to take gold from you, whatever.
Or you can end up with this giant guy who's like,
well, hey, everybody. Can't wait to have some grog with you.
But it's whatever the character feels like. And at that point, again, with the idea of caring about your character and writing that backstory, you start to build that voice. You start to build the identity of the character. And so you're able to flesh it out with, well, maybe, the character has really big teeth. So he's like,
well, the teeth get in the way a little bit. So, and then maybe he had, like a little slash in the side of his mouth. So he kind of draws out the side of it. And so now you got a full-blown character here talking to everybody around the table. And he can be like, oh, yeah, I'd like an ale, please.
Do you do this around the house all day long?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Schizophrenia helps too.
Yeah, heaven help your life.
I mean, when you're doing improv and you revisit something that's been said 3 times and you kind of really hit it, but that's more like, I don't know, kind of a comedian's thing you can work out. You listen to things people set up and you little bit characteristics of other people and you can pull those back in sometime. That's always a nice payoff when you can pull those in and really hit somebody good with pinning some stuff against them or people misspeaking or whatever. Yeah. But the comedies that I've done, like Vampu and Dudes and Dragons, we always allow a little bit of room for improv, and we manage to squeeze a fair bit in there. We'll try some different things, see what works, see what doesn't work, right? And that's the good thing about, again, like having people you can rely on. They'll help you out if you get stuck in a place where your joke isn't working, or they'll fill in. But I don't know, you can take a joke pretty far as long as you keep it fresh,
Let's go down the line and sort of recap one of the special things we heard and how to be a better player today.
It's a collaborative effort between everybody on the table.
A combat can be as interesting as you want it to be, and if you feel it's too much, always speak to your DM about it. Make sure that he understands your needs.
Be in communication with your DM?
Yes.
Having trust as a party, as a group of friends, as a group of colleagues, as a group of players, trusting each other. That is vital to improv, that's vital to performance, and that's vital to this game.
My takeaway is, it's a good idea to have ideas. Be willing to have an idea, but also be listening, be present. So if something better pops up, you can run with that. Those are little gifts, right, that just pop up, and you can latch onto those things. And a lot of times the things you have planned out are not going to be nearly as good as those opportunities that come up, and just go with those and embrace those and have fun.
Session 0, I just can't harp on it enough. Be really honest with your lines and your veils. And if you're not really clear what those are, it's, I'm scared of spiders. All right, great. Okay, we're not gonna talk about them in great detail. No, I have a phobia of spiders. Okay, we're not gonna have spiders in our game. Just be raw and honest with yourself. If there are things that trigger you, bother you, just tell everybody right off the bat so they don't go places that it's going to make a bad game for you.
The best personal advice that I can leave you is be engaged, right? Show up, and when you show up, be engaged, and think like a 9-year-old. Really embroil yourself in the fantasy of it all.
We are usually a bunch of adult people sitting around a table with some pretzels and some waters or alcohol, if you like alcohol, playing pretend. And there is absolutely no reason for you to ever feel silly when you are amongst friends and we are all having fun and playing pretend together. Because we are, like I said before, and like everyone has said, building a story. And there is no moment where you should feel self-conscious like you've done something stupid, or that you're being silly, or that what you're doing right now, I could have done something better. No, it's what your character would have done. And be confident in what your character would have done, and be proud of what you're doing, because you are being creative and you're writing a story with your friends. And I can't think of anything more fulfilling than to make something like that with your friends. So have fun.
Have a good time.
And take notes.
Take notes.